All right, hey y'all, Paul Satorina here to talk to you today about gluten-free pizzas and gluten-free pizza crusts. And this is a post that has been a long time in the making. Thank you all of you who have been so patient. Here locally in Las Vegas, we had a gluten-free pizza party night. And the goal of that night was to source gluten-free pizzas from all over Las Vegas and bring them in and do a little taste testing and rank these pizzas based on taste, but then also look at the different ingredients in the crust so that we could try to formulate some guidelines that we could share with everybody else. And so that's what we're doing here today. And so we have a lot of detailed information we're going to go through, and what I'd like to do first is just summarize our findings so that we have the cliff notes up front, and then I'd like for you to stay with us as we go through a little bit more detailed information. So the cliff notes up front, number one, always go gluten-free. So you're going to see that we have some pizzas that are approved and then some pizzas that are not approved, even though they're gluten-free pizza crust, because they have some toxic oils in it. But if you're one of these people that has it in your mind when you go out that you're going to eat pizza no matter what, and you don't care what's in the ingredients to a degree, I would say always go gluten-free anyway, because the gluten-free version is going to be better than the regular version every single time. Okay, and I don't know of any pizza place that does not offer some kind of a gluten-free option at this point. So always go gluten-free. You know, for me personally, I would go with one of the approved ones, and otherwise probably wouldn't be messing with it. But if you're gonna do pizza, always go gluten-free, because gluten-free is gonna be better than the regular one. Always ask for the ingredients so that you know. So don't take our word for it. A lot of times these ingredients are gonna change over time because these manufacturers and producers are always changing their recipes, and there's always new ingredients coming out. So I would always ask, don't take our word for it. Maybe every few times, if you're going to the same place over and over and over, see if they have an updated list or if they've changed anything. And then gluten-free pizzas, we would say they need to be moderated. So if you're looking to see dramatic change in your health and your energy levels and your body composition and anything and everything that's important to you, you have to understand that some of these things that we have access to that are approved options because they're made with the right ingredients, we need to look at them as occasional treats. Like we really don't need to turn to these things very often. I'd say gluten-free pizzas maybe once a month is a big treat for yourself. And then everything matters. You know, sometimes we have people ask, like, does it really matter if I have a gluten-free pizza but it has this ingredient that's not optimal? And we'd say, heck yes, it does. Because even if I do everything perfect for the rest of my life, meaning that I eat perfectly with my food and I get sun every day and I sleep really well and I meditate and I have fitness and all these things that we know support optimal, vibrant health, I'm not guaranteed anything. So everything matters. Every little thing matters. You got to give your body a fighting chance. I think all this stuff is so, so important. The older I get, the more important I see all this information. So our top pizzas are going to be California Pizza Kitchen now has a cauliflower rice crust. So that's going to be our top pick as far as ingredients go, and I'm sure the taste is amazing because California Pizza Kitchen was one of our best on the taste ratings. And then also, believe it or not, Domino's, Domino's was one of our top picks because the ingredients all check out, and then also it was one of the best taste rated ones, and I'm really proud of that because I'm the one that brought the Domino's pizza to the party. And then Sammy's, Settebello's, Pizza Rocks, I don't know if that's just a Las Vegas pizza joint or not, and then Blaze. Those were our top picks, okay? So that's the cliff notes. Now stick around so that we can go through a little bit more detailed information about this stuff. So first, let's talk about moderation, okay? As real foodies, we want to be real foodies to the core, which means that even though we have access to these approved options made with approved ingredients, we want to look at things like pizza, all-you-can-eat sushi, cookies and crackers and cakes and chips. You know, if they're made with the right ingredients, that's great because we know that we have these things that we can turn to when we need to, but they really need to be looked at as special occasion, kind of rare situations that we turn to these things. You know, if I'm having a party, I want to have a party that provides food that has the right ingredients, or if I have a celebration I'm going to, those would be times that would be acceptable. But if you got this stuff and you're having a gluten-free pizza once a week or once every 2 weeks, and you're doing all-you-can-eat sushi once a week, and you have chips in your house and cookies, even if they're made with the right ingredients, you're not going to be moving in the direction that you want to. The majority of your food needs to be fresh, 100% real food, properly prepared in your own home that you're making and eating yourself or making for someone that you care about, okay? And if you do that, you're going to feel amazing over the long term. And then we definitely want to have these things that we can turn to that are made with the right ingredients, but they need to be rare occasion type things. And when it comes to pizza, like we said, gluten-free pizzas may be a once a month treat to yourself, something that you can look forward to. And ideally it would be one of these approved pizzas. So about the ingredients that we're going to talk about. So we kind of ranked them. This is our best shot, initial shot at a ranking of ingredients, and we have what we would consider good, which means that they're good, and then we have a category which is fine, which means that they're fine on occasion, but probably not something that you want to have in there all the time. And then suspect means that it would be fine, but we have some caveats associated with it, and then we have some deal breakers. So let's go through each one of those briefly. So first of all, rice flour is in the good category. We're going to start with the good. Rice flour, good. So rice flour is made from white rice because when you look at the processing of rice flour, even though it doesn't specify white rice flour, to make it into flour, they usually dehull and debran and dehusk it. So that's good. Cultured brown rice flour is going to be cultured brown rice. And because it's cultured or fermented, we're going to lose some of the problematic factors associated with what would otherwise be a problematic brown rice. And then tapioca flour is one of our improved ingredients. It's one of the things that many of our people use with recipes for baked goods and things like that. And then dextrose is also acceptable. And if you have any questions about dextrose, we have a really good little FAQ video that we did, and we will link to that in the notes. And then buckwheat flour is one of our approved, grain-like seeds. It's not a grain technically, but it's something that is tolerated very well by most people. And again, if you want more detailed information on that, we have a great talk called Not All Seeds Are Created Equal and How to Go Gluten-Free. And it's one of our gluten-free grain-like seeds. So buckwheat flour, okay. And then palm oil is also going to be acceptable because palm oil is one of our accepted healthy fats. Ideally, you'd have something high quality, but palm oil in the context of a gluten-free pizza crust is going to be perfectly fine. Now in the fine category, this means that it's fine. It's not something you want to have on a regular basis over the long term. So brown rice flour, it's going to be hard to find a pizza crust that does not have brown rice flour. And brown rice flour is not optimal for sure, but in the context of a gluten-free pizza crust, and you're doing this once a month, it's perfectly fine. Okay, it's definitely way better than having something that's gluten-based or wheat-based. And then modified rice starch is going to be rice starch that's processed a little bit further. And so it has some enzymes added to this process, and so they extract more of the starch from it. And then Avicel is a brand name for basically cellulose that they get from wood pulp. And probably not optimal over the long term, but short term, small amounts, pizza crust, going to be perfectly fine. Calcium propionate, I guess that's how you say it, I don't know. We have some links to it in our post here, perfectly fine. Gluten-free wheat starch, which is a new ingredient that's popped up here recently, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense when you think about it. So what they do is they take wheat and they extract the starch from wheat minus the gluten, and the gluten that's contained in it is going to be like such a small amount, parts per million, that they've tested on celiacs and they've had no symptoms whatsoever. So, but it just sounds weird getting wheat starch from wheat that's gluten-free, It's like poop-free dog poop or something. And then xanthan gum, guar gum, we see these as stabilizers, emulsifiers, thickeners in some of the food products that we allow, like canned coconut milk, so that's perfectly fine in small amounts on occasion. Bean flour, if you see bean flour in a gluten-free pizza crust, is perfectly fine. Not optimal over the long term because this bean flour is not made from properly prepared beans or legumes that have been soaked and added, how we do our properly prepared legumes, where we add a little bit of an acidic medium to help minimize some of those anti-nutrients. Basically, bean flour is dried beans thrown into a blender or a Vitamix, and what comes out of that is bean flour. So small amounts in a gluten-free pizza crust, perfectly fine over the long term. And then whey powder, not going to be optimal, especially for people that have sensitivity to dairy, but in small amounts in a gluten-free pizza crust, perfectly fine. And then we have some things that are suspect. So suspect ingredients. And what I mean by suspect is, ideally you're avoiding these things because of what we're going to talk about. But if it's in one of these gluten-free pizza crusts, it's kind of fine. I don't even know how to word that really. So potato starch, and that also includes potato flour and flakes. Potato starch would be perfectly fine if it was an organic potato. The problem is that we have a lot of potatoes that are genetically modified now. So the problem with the potato starch and the flakes and the flour is going to be that they're probably genetically modified because they're trying to get the cheapest ones that they can. And then same thing with cornstarch. Cornstarch would be fine in small amounts. especially if it was organic or non-GMO, but guaranteed any cornstarch that you see in gluten-free pizza crust, unless they specify organic or non-GMO, is going to be genetically modified. And then maltodextrin is always going to be suspect, and we have some links here about why we would consider that suspect, okay? Our deal breakers for the most part are going to be toxic oils, and that usually includes canola oil. Sometimes you're going to see soybean oil in some of these crusts, okay? All right, so again, I want to reiterate that it is better to go for gluten-free than it is to go for a regular pizza, even if the gluten-free pizza is not one of our optimal pizzas because of one of the deal breaker ingredients, okay? So the most approved pizzas, and we're ranking these based on ingredients and taste, so we factored both of those in, is going to be the California Pizza Kitchen, and this is the gluten-free cauliflower rice pizza crust. All right, so if I look at the ingredients here, we have cauliflower rice, mozzarella cheese, rice flour, tapioca starch, egg whites, rice starch, modified rice food starch, sugar, yeast, cultured brown rice, garlic powder, and Italian seasoning and salt. Okay, awesome, right? Domino's got a 4.0 on taste. Is ranked as our number 2 pizza, which I'm very proud to bring that to us. And so the ingredients on Domino's is water, modified rice starch, rice flour, brown rice flour, potato starch, olive oil, potato flour, evaporated cane sugar, fresh yeast, honey, Avicel, salt, and calcium propionate. Okay. All right, next is Sammy's, 3.5 on taste. Ingredients: rice flour, tapioca flour, water, potato flour, potato flake, water, said that already, yeast, sugar, salt, and olive oil. Settabello's, 3.5 on taste. Gluten-free wheat starch, dextrose, cornstarch, buckwheat flour, rice flour, vegetable fibers, yeast, salt, and water. Pizza Rocks, 3.2 on taste. Water, white rice flour, potato starch, modified white rice starch, olive oil, sugar, egg, tapioca starch, salt, Italian seasoning, garlic powder, cultured brown rice. And then finally, in our approved pizzas, we have Blaze, which was a 3.75 on taste, extra virgin olive oil, gluten-free pizza blend, which includes brown rice flour, tapioca flour, sea salt, xanthan gum, guar gum, yeast, and water. All right, so those are our top picks for approved pizzas, especially here locally. And again, ingredients are going to change over time, but that's the best shot that we got. California Pizza Kitchen, Domino's, Sammy's, Settabella, Pizza Rocks, and Blaze. And when I have gluten-free pizzas, these are the pizzas that I'm going to go for. And then we have our list of unapproved pizzas. And for the most part, the reason these are unapproved is because they have a toxic fat or oil in the ingredients of the crust, okay? Whole Foods gluten-free pizza because of canola oil and olive oil blend. So Papa John's, which also uses Udi's gluten-free pizza crust, had a pretty good taste rating, but it has, unacceptable ingredients, including non-GMO vegetable oil, which includes canola and or sunflower and or safflower oil. Okay, so they made a good attempt with the non-GMO piece, but it's just not worth it in my opinion because of the oils. Same thing with Mark Rich's. Mark Rich's, we had a 2.8 on taste. And then the deal breaker there was canola oil as one of the ingredients. Above the crust here in Las Vegas, a 3.6 on taste, and again the deal breaker is the canola oil in the crust. Metro Pizza, we got a lot of great feedback on that, 4.5 on taste, and again the deal breaker here is going to be a canola olive oil blend, which you'll see this in a lot of pizza crust recipes. BJ's, so this is going to have. The deal breaker is going to be a canola oil blend that's canola and olive oil. BJ's was a 4.5 on taste, so it did really good on the taste piece, but it has some of the canola oil in it. And then California Pizza Kitchen, the regular gluten-free, not the cauliflower crust, is a 4.5 on taste, and then it has canola olive oil blend. Against the Grain pizza crust, which you can get in most natural food or health food stores like Whole Foods and Natural Grocers and Sprouts. I think they used to have an approved list of ingredients on their pizza crust, and now tapioca starch, milk, eggs, canola oil, which is very unfortunate, cheddar cheese, mozzarella, Parmesan cheese. And then Pieology, We did not get a taste back on it, but we just know that they have a gluten-free crust here locally. Has a canola olive oil blend, and then Sabatino's also has canola oil in it. Okay, so if you have any questions, any comments, any feedback, any updates on ingredients, any new pizzas that you'd like to add to this list, please let us know, because we just want this to be beneficial for other people. And again, keep in mind, this should be rare occasion type stuff. If it's me, I'm only going with approved. But if you're gonna go for pizza, always go for gluten-free pizza, even if it's not the most optimal of the gluten-free pizzas. And thank you so much for tuning in.